right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine, and Coavera, formerly Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined from the other coast in Maryland by Tayo Lusi. How are you doing, Tayo?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Excellent. And Tio, you're known as Mr. 1%, founder of the 1% University, a career acceleration platform that helps IT professionals transition into high income cloud engineering careers. You started your own journey as a 55 grand a year help desk role, and through cloud computing, DevOps, strategic career positioning, you grew to nearly income to 500,000. And today you help ambitious tech professionals develop real world skills to position themselves for premium opportunities. So let's talk about your own journey for a moment, right? What was for you to get from the help desk to where you got to? What were the mind shifts that you had to make um, initially? Like what was the main mind shifts that you had to make?
One of the things I always heard growing up, you need to go to school, you need to get a good job, like school in terms of college. And, that was a form of security. And that was,
Hmm.
you know, what the only path that I knew. And
Yes.
so, as you see on the wall right there, I have my college degree. I even have some certifications, but I was always told to get these things. And the
Hmm.
outcome was me driving Uber Eats at 2 a.m. in the morning, averaging around $10 an hour. And so, I learned the hard way that this step-by-step roadmap or pathway did not lead to, what I was promised in terms of my experience. And so that's when I read that book right there, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And
Hmm.
one of the mindset shift that I learned from him was you need to learn, but you need to learn the right things.
Yep.
And so I took a step back and I did an audit. I said, okay, I learned high school, college degree. I have my information technology degree. I was trying to break into tech. Like it seems like I learned the wrong things because
Hmm.
the outcome was Uber Eats. Let me learn from somebody that has the results that I'm looking for, and maybe I can get the same results that he has. And
Right.
so
Right.
with IT, that's when I learned that I actually needed to learn how to build projects. I needed to learn how to actually, solve problems that businesses have so I could become valuable. If I'm able to save them time and money, I now become valuable, and that positions me as an authority in a space and valuable for them wanting to hire me. And
Right.
so,
Right.
I was able to build projects. I was able to learn how to brand myself to have recruiters reach out to me. And I was able to learn how to communicate effectively on any job interviews to position myself as one of the top candidates on any job interview. And so, the mindset shift was learning the right things. And it came from that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, yeah, and what's really fascinating about that is that you approached it as a project, and you said, okay, these are the things that I have to do in order to, put myself in the best position possible. And I think sometimes, people kind of overlook that piece, or they don't feel comfortable with it, or whatever. But at the end of the day, Tayo, if you have to be your biggest cheerleader, and
Yep.
you have to be the one to believe in yourself. Nobody else cares about your career as much as you do.
Yep, yep. And just to add on that, no one can see the vision that you have. Like right
Mhm.
now, by God's grace, he's blessed me to be in a certain position. But I was the person that saw the vision and believed in myself to invest in myself, even when people thought I was crazy. Because typically I had to go outside the norm
Mhm.
to, get to where I am, and people are gonna, look at you like you're crazy, but you do have to be your biggest cheerleader, just to add on what you're saying, and believe in yourself. Not only belief, but action, consistency over time. And with the right blueprint, it should yield results.
Yeah. And how do people recognize, like, if they've hit a kind of an income ceiling? Because sometimes I think, people kind of set their expectations too low, or they think, okay, yeah, that's fine for someone else, but like I'm probably where I'm supposed to be. How do you recognize that you've maybe established an artificial ceiling for yourself?
Yeah, so I like this question because, I used to, be in certain environments, like when I was trying to invest in myself, and they would kind of make people feel bad, like, oh, you're not making X amount of money, that means you don't, want to be successful. And that's very subjective.
Hmm. Yeah.
Somebody wants to make $35,000 a year and they're comfortable, they can live the life that they want,
Hmm.
that's success to them. There's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
right? So I would say, depending on what you want, if you want to make, for me, it was $500,000 a year, which was $25,000 a month after tax. And so for me, that was the goal at the time, and it was, you know, I was at 55. It was really 35, but I was at 35, 55K a year. I was an IT technician, and then I went to help desk. But I knew that I was at an income ceiling because of what I wanted, because of the life that I wanted. I wanted to be able to take care of my parents. I wanted to be able to retire early, and that was the
Hmm.
income that I needed to now invest that extra money. And so, whatever life that you want, I would say sit down and write down exactly the life that you want. It's yours. It's nobody else's. And then, what's the income needed per month that you need to make to live that life? And most im most importantly, what are the mindset and skill sets
Yeah.
needed to actually make that income to live the life that you want, and that's yours. And
Hmm.
so, everybody's income ceiling is gonna look different depending on, where you wanna go, but I would say it is customized for, what people want in life. But you would recognize that income ceiling if you're at this and you're trying to get to here, and the
Hmm.
max you can make in this your industry is, let's just say, 100,000, and you're trying to get to 300,000. That's when you need to realize, okay, I need to learn a new skill set
Yeah.
and adopt a new mindset from somebody that has gotten what I'm looking for and can pour into me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you tell me about this 1% philosophy, because this is part of it too, isn't it? Like making sure the small changes that you need in order to compound over time.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I said, tell me a little bit about your 1% philosophy, because obviously, making those changes that compound over time. But sometimes people think you have to make big, bold, it has to be grandiose changes all at once. So tell me about the 1% philosophy.
So I would say, in terms of the um my I do apologize. I'm just um in terms of the 1% mindset that I have is, it wasn't something that came overnight.
Hmm.
Wealth is slow.
Yeah.
Right? Anything good takes time. And so the problem with, my generation is, everything is fast, it's instant. It's like a microwave. Right? It's
Hmm.
not an oven that takes time to cook.
Right.
And so I always tell my students 95% of everything is mindset.
Hmm.
The external world that you're living is a direct reflection of who you are internally. And so I tell my students, you need to first work on the internal side, your mindset, the thoughts, your belief system, right? Believing that, you know, investing in yourself first, knowledge, yield results over time,
Hmm.
not overnight.
Yeah.
And truly believing this, when you do invest, why does this matter? Because if you have this mindset and you invest, and a month goes by, if you have the long-term mindset, you're like, okay, it's going to take time. But
Hmm.
if you have like the wrong mindset, instant gratification, you want, quick money, a month goes by and you're going to think it's not working. It's
Yeah.
a scam, and then you're going to stop.
Hmm.
Good things take time, and a good investment takes time to yield results. And it's just about adopting the principle of patience and long-term thinking.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, yeah, patience and as you said, long term thinking and trusting the process. But for I mean, and you deal with a lot of technical people, and obviously, the path is often like increase your skills, get new certifications, get new mastery. But as you were saying earlier, though, for a lot of people in those areas, like the whole idea of branding and combining it with that probably seems kind of alien to them.
So it's crazy because it's like a mindset.
Hmm.
And for a long time, before, you needed a degree to get a specific job, right? As a
Yeah.
doctor, you need to have your credentials. And so a lot of people think that college degree or certifications equals job. And that's not the case. Because, you know, even when you get an interview and they say, tell me a time you're able to
Mhm.
build this or do this or solve this problem, all you know is theory. You know
Yeah.
what it is, but you don't know how to apply it. You don't know the application aspect of it. And so it's communicating to people, my audience, the one percenters, that before in the past, this is what worked.
Mhm.
This is what's currently happening in today's market. And I know this because I've interviewed all of the hiring managers that hired me, and they told me the same thing. We don't care about degrees or certifications. We care if you can actually solve problems. And the
Yeah.
interviews, we're going to ask you questions that's scenario based, that lets us know, have you come across this problem before? Because they're looking for somebody to come into their business. That's why they have the job description out,
Mhm.
to solve that problem. And so it's not like, hey, we're looking for you to come inside the business to, take a test,
Mhm.
right? We're looking for you to come inside the business to solve problems. And so certifications, degrees, it doesn't translate into being able to create a solution for a business. And that is where value is. That is where,
Mhm.
if you're able to solve a problem, a specific problem for a specific pain that a business has that's costing them money or time, if you're able to save them time and money, you're valuable. And
Mhm.
so it's just educating them in terms of, okay, this is what worked before, this is what's working now, this is the mindset that you need to have. And now the application, the skill set, right? Because you need mindset and skill set, is here step by step how to build those projects, how to actually brand yourself, how to actually use SEO optimized words on your resume and LinkedIn. So when recruiters are you know, reaching out to people, they're looking for specific keywords, and you're going to pop up because you have those SEO optimized words on your profile, right? You posting, an example of your project, like
Yeah.
showing them that you're solving the problem. This is what I did last week for a cloud migration project. The problems that I came across was X, Y, and Z. This is how I solved it, and this was the solution and business impact. I was able to save the business X amount of time and money. And so it's like, that's just a snippet of, like, some things that I teach in terms of how to brand yourself, but it's
Right.
a skill set.
Yeah. And then how do you help people um avoid falling into the trap of thinking, okay, I want to raise my income, I want to do all of this, so I'll just work harder, I'll just work 60 hours, 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week, I'll just continue to ramp, because that at the end of the day is what's going to get me to where I need to be.
That's a really good question. So I'm Nigerian,
Hmm.
and we come from the background is, we work hard. Like,
Hmm.
that's all we know to make more money, right?
Yeah.
My mom, dad, both of them, they've been, you know, ever since I was born, not anymore, but ever since I was born, they were working 2 to 3 jobs, and that's
Hmm.
what we know. And so, you know, it was I had a conversation with my mom, and after learning a lot of different things from my mentor and realizing you can make more money and work less, I had a conversation with my mom, and I said, you actually taught me how to work hard, and I'm very grateful. I'm
Hmm.
extremely blessed, you know, but you didn't teach me how to work smart. It's crazy because if I had told my parents, hey, I'm about to do something to make more money and work less, they would
Hmm.
call me lazy.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of like a backwards way of thinking, because
Yeah.
we just didn't know any better. And so, you know, really, really, it's it's something that I had to show them first before they can believe it. Like,
Hmm.
oh, you can get more of an output, a maximum, a multiplied output with minimum input,
Yeah.
just by having the mindset and skill set. And so it was something that took some time, and for them to see it, for them to realize, okay, I didn't know this world existed.
Hmm.
This seems to be more effective.
Yeah. And then the other part too is, let's face it, I mean, if you're especially if you're an engineer or programmer or whatever, or DevOps, all of that kind of thing is um you're not a trained negotiator either. So, and I think that's the part of the issue sometimes is like when people want to negotiate, to a higher salary and all of that, is they get very intimidated having that conversation and end up like, often end up it doesn't go well because they feel really uncomfortable having it.
Mhm. It's I've seen, honestly, the first time you're getting an offer, six figures, and you never made that, you're gonna most likely take the first thing that comes across your table, and it's because, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like you've never seen that much money, and that's what happened to me. I went from 55K to no 45K to $135,000, and I didn't even. As soon as they said, "Hey, we want to give you an offer letter," I said yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So for 135, I said, yes, remote, yes. I didn't even like, who do I sign?
Yeah.
And so, but I think a lot of that comes from an experience
Hmm.
and not really knowing, your worth. And after after my first job, you kind of get a level of security and confidence and awareness of the value that you bring. And so if somebody was to, I remember I had a job, I got an offer for 110, and I told them no. um and they said, okay, yeah, we'll match you 135. And then
Hmm.
I said no.
Hmm.
It was a but anything under $130,000 as a cloud engineer with, what we teach in the program,
Yeah.
anything lower than that, they're taking advantage of you because
Hmm.
the value that you bring is ridiculous. I had a student, he recently got an offer letter for $155,000, and he joined, he got access to their,
Yeah.
AWS consoles, and he saw that there were 40 different AWS accounts. And on one account, just one, they had spent $765,000 for that month. And that's this month actually. And that was
Wow.
probably like 7 days ago. And so he said, dang, I should have asked for more money. And so there's money there. It's just, you know, you're always going to rise to the level of value and belief or worth that you think. If you think that you're worth 110, that's what you'll accept. If you think that you're worth 200,000, that's what you'll accept. And a company, the right company that knows your value and has that budget, will pay you what you're worth.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point there. Yeah, Tio, is that idea of uh, the right company will pay you and therefore, as you said, not jumping on the first thing or like going finding different offers, having patience to find the right company. Because yeah, you're correct. If you just jump on the first thing, neither side is going to be satisfied at the end of the day, or because you've jumped on it because you were feeling a little insecure, so you jumped on it, you took it, but now
Mhm,
you're sitting in a job where you feel like underpaid, underappreciated, and you're looking at what ifs and stuff. So having a little bit of patience during that process is obviously important.
And it's, I remember at the time, there were other opportunities. My goal at the time, I think it was 120 or
Hmm.
130, and I got 135, and I was just ecstatic. But I didn't know the value of the skill set that I possess. I could have got 160 if I
Hmm.
negotiated, and they had the budget.
Hmm.
But at the time, my mindset was like, if I was to even make 110, that's doubled my income. And
Right,
so,
right.
you know,
Yeah, and I think it comes back to, as you said at the beginning, there is really understanding your own value and doing some work on assessing. Because that's the other thing, and I'm sure Teo, you do this a lot with your students. Uh, is people don't realize the experience they have. They don't realize some of the skills they have. They don't realize some of the obstacles they've overcome, which have given them great resilience. And they often don't recognize the skill sets that they have and
mm,
what they bring to the table.
I see that all the time. And, it's every time I heard like mindset stuff, I used to just say, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
hey, like, I don't want to hear this. I want to get into the nitty gritty of
Mhm.
the tangible stuff to implement. And I would skip the mindset and get to the nitty gritty of the tangible stuff, but I would still be stuck.
Mhm.
knowing what I know now, being where I am, by God's grace, I give him all the glory, is like I said, 95% of everything is mindset. Everything.
Mhm.
You can know what to do. But if you don't have the proper mindset, the proper environment mentally, you know, a fish, like I'm trying to explain it like a fish in a
Mhm.
fishbowl as opposed to a fish in an ocean.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And that's really true. Like you can only swim as far as what you allow your mind. If, like, for example, you know, $500,000 used to be the goal.
Mhm.
Now inside the 1% University, I teach them $500,000 is the minimum baseline that
Yeah.
you want to make in your life. Just like
Mhm.
how every day, most people, their baseline minimum is to brush their teeth at least once a day, hopefully for people watching this podcast. And, let's just say somebody's baseline minimum brushing their teeth was twice a day in the morning and
Mhm.
at night. And so the person that brushes their teeth twice a day, and that's like a part of them, they don't have to
Yeah.
think, now they set a goal for 4 times a day
Mhm.
as opposed to the person who's I brush my teeth 1 time a day. My
Yeah.
goal is 4 times a day.
Mm.
If both of them don't reach their goal, they're always going to default to their baseline.
To the baseline, yeah.
And so I tell people, and I've seen this, wealthy people, the mindset, 95% is mindset, they're they don't have crazy, they do have crazy goals, but they just increase, their baseline minimum.
Mhm.
$500,000 is the baseline minimum that you will make per year, and that is a belief system that you are now adopting.
Yeah.
There's mindset, okay, that's good, you have that. Now you can't just think that and it's going to appear. No, how do you do that? Which is the skill set,
Yeah.
step by step. And so, we have a bunch of people making $500,000 a year, and that's like brushing their teeth twice a day.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
absolutely. The developing the good habits, and as you said, is like setting your baseline. Absolutely. Well, Tio, this has been fascinating. All of Tio's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people about you and what you do.
So I teach IT professionals who's around 80K or six figures how to scale their income to $500,000 a year, working around 2 to 3 hours a day with cloud engineering. And as a bonus, I show people how to use that money and invest that money so you can create a system that can actually acquire wealth. And so just tech and investing.
Perfect. Well, listen, thanks again, Tio. Thank you for watching and listening. See you all again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.